Yo, Ray Fisher, man of the people, at it again. We're going to be starting in with enough prep time. Podcast, entertainment. In 1, 2, 3. Squeezy. Relax. All right. Hi. Welcome to another episode of With Enough Prep Time. As I said, our boy Ray Fisher, he's at it again. This is the man of the people, making sure that he is taking on every injustice in the world, one injustice at a time. So we have some new footage of our boy Ray Fisher. I'm gonna live react to this, and I'll be looking at the comments if anybody ends up being in the comments section. I just wanted to. I don't know. I've heard a few things about this this video, but I've tried to kind of stay away from it and stay away from too much knowledge, so I can do a live reaction of Ray Fisher responding to Warner Brothers, his latest response. Okay, so here we go. Our man Ray Fisher, man about the people, man about town. First of all, making sure he's doing the responsible thing, wearing that face mask, because he's one of us.
Happy Sunday, my friends.
Okay.
I hope you're doing okay.
I'm doing fine, Ray Fisher. Hi.
I hear some babies crying.
Oh, look, he cares
I'll
about
watch them
babies.
grow. They'll know much more
Is he
than
rapping?
I'll ever know.
Is he singing?
And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. All right, hope y'all doing all right out there. Sorry, I heard a baby crying, I got distracted, and I got segued into a song. I wanted to go live and just say thank you to each and every one of you out there who has shown me nothing but love and nothing but support over the last couple days. You know, I am in shock and awe at two things. I'm in shock and awe that
the people who love and support Ray Fisher for what he's done, I don't understand at all. I kind of think they're a little bit crazy. They have no sense of reality or how you should deal with these situations. I'm baffled. I mean, basically, if you look at from what he's last sent us, the last message that he did on Twitter, he basically admitted by omission and by actually stating it, that basically everything Warner Brothers said in their communication was true. He was not cooperating with the investigation because he wanted to vet the person that is supposedly an independent, an independent kind of contractor looking into this issue. He wanted to make sure that they were truly independent, and they said that. There's also a number of different allegations that Warner Brothers made against him, that most of his issues were creative, and that he was concerned about his character Cyborg being his first movie, and he cares about this. I mean, it's okay to care about it, but he's making demands. Essentially doing script revisions and giving notes to the director. And in a way that seems to be much more confrontational than it is collaborative. I think, he obviously had a kind of experience with Zack Snyder where he got to be very creative and give notes and do all of this kind of thing, and he didn't get that on he really didn't get that on Josh Whedon's set. And I don't know who started it. I wasn't there. You know, obviously, we're all just flies on the wall. But basically, Warner Brothers has accused him now. Straight up accused him of that's the only thing they know about his concerns. And that isn't actionable. That is just something that happens. You have creative disputes when you're on a creative project like this. So Ray Fisher, in his communication back to them, his response back to Warner Brothers and what they said, basically he hasn't denied that. Wouldn't that be the first thing you do? Don't think about it. Warner Brothers has come out with a communication calling you a diva, saying that you were trying to do script changes and that this is the only thing they know and this is the reason you're going after Geoff Johns and Josh Whedon. Wouldn't the first thing you would say is, okay, I admit maybe I did that on the set of Justice League, or maybe I didn't want to say booyah, or maybe I did do some script revisions. Or you can deny it. You could say, if it's true that actually they're just painting a bad picture of you and this is nothing that you did, you should say, no, I didn't do that. But what you should also add is that, I didn't do that, or I did do that, but this is not what this particular investigation is about for me. I'm trying to investigate something far more serious, a gross act far more serious. You know what? I'm entirely convinced. I'm almost entirely convinced that Ray Fisher drunk tweeted out his real feelings about Josh Whedon, which he wasn't brave enough to say when he was sober. And all of this afterwards is just to cover up the fact that he drunk tweeted. And he probably over-exaggerated by saying gross and abusive. He's probably thinking, shit, like abusive is a bit harsh. And now he's trying somehow to figure out and manage a way that he can make sense of those communications. Because once he comes out, if those communications that he wrote about the abusive and all of this, if he doesn't say something that is really, really like it's abusive and gross and which he hasn't done so far, if he doesn't say anything like that, then he is liable to be sued. He could be sued for defaming someone, or it was not well, there's another word for it, but anyway, defamation of character or something like that. So he better be careful. He better ensure that everything he's saying, he's keeping it quite vague, but it has to be actionable. It has to be something that the studio Warner Brothers can act on. Otherwise, it's all bullshit. So I'll go back. For anyone who's in the comments or who's watching, please feel free to make any comments you want, and I will respond to them. But my basic takeaway is Ray Fisher needs to, in this video, respond to the allegations that have been made about him by Warner Brothers. He's not responding to those allegations, and that's problematic. Because everything they said that he did, he admitted. He said that he hasn't been cooperating with the investigation. He said it himself. He's vetting the guy, and you have to imagine. And I'm going to stop talking and let us listen to this all through. But you have to imagine that they would that if they were going to make an appointment with an actor to discuss such claims that he's making, that they would have actually, said, hey, Ray Fisher, we're going to speak to you at this time, on this day, Will you be happy to speak to us then? He said, yes, I'll be happy to speak to you then. And then doesn't bring a fucking rep. So he's given himself an excuse to get out of, telling us or telling his millions of adoring fans who, I stand with Ray Fisher. Stand with what? You don't know what he's claiming to have done. But anyway, maybe he'll explain it in this video.
Warner Brothers would have even had the audacity to put out a statement like that. They've set themselves up, unfortunately.
They had the audacity to put out a statement like that. You called out Walter Hamada, the head of creative. You keep going after bigger and bigger fish, and you're saying they have the audacity. You said, you basically called out a private communication where he said, "Oh, please, can you drop Geoff Johns out of this complaint? He's really important to us. He does super good comics. Basically, all our films are based off his fucking comic runs because he's a comic book fucking genius." He's the only guy at DC, they fired most of the other ones who actually care about more DC characters than just fucking Batman. The rest of them are Batman fanboys, which is why we have now, post Geoff Johns, 5, 10, 20 different interpretations of Batman in the DCEU. Oh, we're going to get Michael Caine's Batman back. We're going to do this. We're going where's our alternate takes on Superman? Why aren't they in the movies? It's crazy. So we've got the Batman fanboys are back. At least it's good for the Matt Reeves Batman film. But in terms of like the Flash, his movie is now, instead of being set in Central City, it's going to be set in Gotham probably. They've hijacked Flash's movie to do with two Batmans in it, Batman's making Flash's suit. It's it's the whole Batman show, and I really think that Geoff Johns, before he left, the little that he did as creative head, he did some good things. He greenlit Shazam, he greenlit Aquaman. I'm not the biggest fan of Aquaman, but did $1 billion, grossed $1 billion worldwide. He greenlit a lot of different films and produced a lot of films and was writing on a lot of films, did a lot of the writing behind it. I believe he was supportive of the Joker as well. I'm not sure, but I heard that he was somewhere. And he wrote Wonder Woman 84. I mean, the guy's prolific in DC films, and short of him having, sexually harassed you, I don't see what you're saying he did. So let's see if we can find out. Let's see if we can find out what he did. But
for a lot of issues, they do not know how many receipts I have for interactions that I've had. They do not know the people that I've been talking to. They do not know a lot of the people that I have that are willing and able to take part in the investigation.
Yeah, they don't know because you haven't told them. You have to do the investigation. So why are you announcing this to us? See, you might have a great, I don't know, maybe you really do have it all figured out. But why are you announcing this on Twitter? Which lawyer is advising you to do this? The only thing you're doing is screwing up your career. You just look like a troublemaker, straight up. Even if you turn out to be right about this, I would never fucking hire you on a film. Never fucking hire you. I don't care if you're right at this point. Because the way you're going about this is so, like my barber, like, every blow you hit against them, you soften with, like, admitting something completely trivial that supposedly they did to you. So unless they went on some racist tirade towards you or sexually harassed you, I don't see what you can say. That they were, not very nice bosses. That's what bosses are. That's a workplace, I don't know, man. You're going on soft, to be honest.
And
I really think I bet you, if this turns out that he really hasn't got anything. This was all a drunk tweet that went seriously bad. He did not plan this. He did not plan any investigation. He's not been working on this for 3 years. He just sent out a stupid tweet when he was drunk. He got a bit like, and instead of coming on the next day, and saying, hey man, I know I got a bit, I got a bit salty, but I was drunk. LOL, things you text when you're drunk. Or, hey, the classic, my account was hacked. Instead of him to go with that, he decided to like double down on his drunk fucking email. I bet any fucking drunk tweet, I bet you any money this is a drunk tweet gone wrong.
Something that is ultimately going to jam them up in a big way. It was a bold move for them.
Oh, you appreciate their move. I thought it was pretty bold too, because it ruined you. It made you look petty. You better have something good.
Flat out.
Let's go.
Call me a liar in a sense, and say that
I must you keep going for higher and higher people, which means at first you only said Geoff Johns. At first it was only that Geoff Johns had enabled. Now Geoff Johns is the center of this for you, because he's the head creative, and you want Zack Snyder to replace him as head creative of DC movies. And furthermore, I mean head creative in the background. I don't mean head creative like the job. He still, I think, has a lot of creative input on the different kind of movies. I mean, he's working on a Green Lantern thing. The Stargirl thing is a big success. Everyone likes that. So he's got some creative clout, and I think his creative clout as well was on the rise thanks to Stargirl and the success there. And I think, equally, his success in the comics with 3 Jokers now. DC must love this guy. They must love him. He's their little, the comic book's favorite uncle, as I like to call him. He just does great work, like on all of the different characters. And he's not a DC Batman fanboy. But you, Ray Fisher, you went for Walter Hamada, and you're telling them they've got the audacity. But what about your audacity? Why are you calling out a man just for trying to protect his friend? That's probably all Walter Hamada was trying to do. He's probably trying to say, Geoff Johns is my boy. Did he really do anything that bad? Maybe the fact that he was willing to say that means to me that it can't have been that bad. Because if Walter Hamada, if you turned around and said to Geoff Johns, to Walter Hamada, something as serious as something actionable like, he tried to touch me. He was very sexually expressive to me all the time. I think he was attracted. Or if you said something, like, if he said something like, he punched me once when he locked me in an off. Whatever you said, or he was horrible to the rest of the crew and staff and stuff like that. If you said something that was actionable, there's no way he would have gone, oh man, can you leave Geoff Johns out of this complaint? You probably said Geoff Johns and his partner John Berg or whatever, that they enabled Josh Whedon to be really aggressive on set, right? But how is that like they enabled? So why are you now going after? You've barely even mentioned Josh Whedon in the last few weeks. In the last couple of texts, it just went on, and then you went to Walter Hamada, a guy who, first of all, you're just claiming, just tried to stick up for his boy. That's how deep it goes. He tried to stick up for his boy. All right, and then what? You expected them not to reply to that? Of course they're going to respond, Ray Fisher. I mean, duh. And they're going to, as far as I've seen everything that they're saying matches what you're saying. So now I'm done with my rant. I'm sorry. It's just that this guy, he he blows my mind. I swear he blows my mind the way he's doing.
I'm not attempting to, or at least to, not call me a liar, but to say that I was attempting to not communicate or attempting to avoid the investigator or not cooperating with the investigator. It's the worst kind of spin that you could put on a situation like this, because I've got the receipts to prove that at every step of the way.
So you've got the receipts, good.
There's been clear communication as to what it is that we've been attempting to do. And so they put themselves in a really weird place, I'm not going to lie. And it really sucks because ultimately what's going to happen is somebody's going to get thrown under the bus for that statement that they put out. And if you notice in that statement, there was not a single quote from Walter Hamada. There was not a single quote from anyone. It was a blanket PR statement that was put out. So, as seems to be the way, and what I said about Walter Hamada throwing Joss Whedon and John Berg under the bus is absolutely true. But as seems to be the way, they probably intend to throw somebody's poor assistant under the bus for being the one that had to press send on that email. And that's unfortunately how it goes. It's gross. It's really gross. But the only way to cut through the PR spin is to hit it with hard fact, hard evidence, and to let people know, you know, you're not playing games.
The only way to go through the spin is to hit it with hard evidence. Okay? I'm waiting.
It's a really weird game. It's a sad and desperate game, but it's a predictable one. And they are simply being reactionary now, which is obviously not a good look.
Well, they have adverts during a Ray Fisher expose.
I made it very clear weeks before, or at least, I'm sorry, on August 21st, 5 days before I was to go in and talk to the investigator, that I would be doing my due diligence. I would be vetting.
So you knew 5 days before, and you didn't come with a rep. So why even mention that you didn't have a rep in your little email? And that email, I swear to God, I reckon that email was maybe he did send it at the time, but it's so like in line with his narrative. Everything it says in there, like, oh, you know, like glorifying, trying to like suck up to Warner Media, the heads of Warner Pictures and Warner Brothers now, and AT&T. He's trying to suck up to them because they're obviously the ones he perceives as given the world the Snyder Cut, basically, right? Like they're the ones who are behind it finally getting released, because Warner Brothers probably didn't want anything to do with Zack Snyder anymore. Maybe, I don't know, right? But he's obviously trying to stick up, suck up to them and say, oh, they're the good guys, Warner Brothers are the bad guys, and so I was trying to make sure that it was them who were running the investigation, and all of it is just so in line with his narrative. Everything. I'll read the email after, but it's so like in line with the the narrative he's trying to paint about the investigation now, which seems to me rather staged. Like how could you have such forethought to know how exactly Warner Brothers might respond and hit every point vaguely, by the way, to contradict what they were saying. And basically you didn't. You just kind of confirmed what they were saying. You did communicate with them. You're now saying you had 5 days. You knew at least 5 days before, and you decided to not bring a rep so that you could use that as an excuse to get out of actually continuing the interview with this guy. And how you couldn't imagine that they were going to bring a rep themselves, like a person to witness an interview with you, after you've been accusing people all gross behavior and whatever. He wants to protect himself. What if you turn around and say, oh, he did gross behavior to you? He was racist to you, or he said something to you. He wants to protect his own back. Obviously, he's going to bring an extra person to witness it. Why did you not bring an extra person to witness it? Because you wanted to duck out of that interview. That's why you didn't bring someone. You did it on purpose. You're staging the whole thing, and the Snyder cult following you, hook, line, and center.
And making sure that the investigator was indeed a third party and a fair and impartial individual. What they neglected to mention in the article that they had put out, and some people called it a hit piece, and for all intents and purposes it is, but what they had neglected to mention is that after my conversation with Walter Hamada, wherein I demanded of Walter that we be able to take this to whatever next step.
Look at this guy making demands to the head of DC Warner Brothers Film. You've done one movie and a TV show, bruh. You're a nobody in Hollywood. You're not a big name. I went in and I demanded. Look, this guy. I can imagine him going in and demanding script changes as well.
Needed to be taken, because in the article they made it seem as if he bestowed this gracious request upon me to take it to the next level. Not at all. Not at all. After finally pinning him down and saying, would you be willing to support an investigation into what I'm relaying? And he and I had talked in great detail about Joss Whedon. We talked in great detail about Geoff Johns. We talked in great detail about John Berg. And his excuse for the situation with Geoff Johns was, well, Ray, I worked with Jeff on Shazam. I don't really think that he would do that sort of stuff or be that sort. And I go, Walter, you weren't there. I'm telling you, you weren't. You were not there when the man used back channel communication to call me into his office and made the veiled threat to my career. You weren't there for that.
He used back channel communication to do a veiled threat. Isn't a veiled threat by its very nature not a serious threat? I mean, shouldn't you say he threatened me really like it was a bad threat? Like it was a serious threat? A veiled threat is like, maybe you're not going to work too long in this town if you keep on acting this way. It's an indirect threat, basically, to your career because you're possibly being a nuisance on the set of Justice League. And when you said your first claim was he enabled the bad behavior. Was he doing the bad behavior or did he enable it? What's your spin on it? Because you seem to be much more focused on Geoff Johns now than anyone. You tried to you just bypassed Joss Whedon just now, and you bypassed John Berg, and you're going for the throat with Geoff Johns. Was he the worst to you? Because you're saying he enabled the behavior. Enabling by its very nature means that whatever he did wasn't as bad. He just the bad stuff was by Joss Whedon, and Geoff Johns just said, "Hey man, whatever. I don't really care." He's trying to make a movie. He's under a lot of pressure. They must have been having a nightmare with this film without your, addition to it.
I said, you weren't there when Geoff Johns contacted me in 2018, a year and a half after Justice League, while I was shooting True Detective, to gloat, using back-channel communications to gloat that there'd be another cyborg being used in the DC universe in a show that he was producing. I said, Walter.
Wait a second. Did this fool just say what I think he said? Wait, look. Has he got more?
You weren't there for those things, so you can't tell me about it. And so, finally, when we got to the heart of all that stuff, and I realized that clearly this is a situation wherein Walter was attempting to protect Geoff Johns because of his continued business partnerships such as Wonder Woman 1984, such as whatever other projects that they may have coming down the pipeline. I ended up saying, listen, this is just what I need. And so when he wanted more specifics about what was said and who said it, I refused to give him such specifics. I said, Walter, this is sensitive information. I said,
oh my God. So basically, the best thing you could come up with after all of this is that Geoff Johns basically was trolling you. Do you know what? That story actually makes me like Geoff Johns more. Geoff Johns took time a year after. He took time out of his day, I could imagine, with his cheeky little face, basically to call you up to tell you there's a new Cyborg on his TV show for no reason, just to fuck with you. That's hilarious. Come on, guys, that's funny. That's fucking comedy, man. So he basically just phoned him. Hey, Ray. I just want you to know, we've got a new Cyborg. And then hung up. We've got a new Cyborg on my show. Just hung up on him. He's just doing a much, much better job. I don't know. I just feel his booyah more. When he says booyah, I really believe he means booyah. What are you talking about, man? Is that gross abuse in the modern age? Some guy trolling you? You have to take this to higher ups. He called you 2018 while you're filming a completely different other show, just to fucking troll you, bro, dude. Is that seriously? Like, is it this kind of stuff that you're upset about? Because that just sounds like somebody being an asshole, bro. I don't know what, like, these kids, they grow up that, I think it's like in schools, you know, I'm not in favor of bullying, but bullying is a natural part of life. You know, when you're a kid, I'm not in favor of it. I think it should be, you know, like, stopped or whatever as much as possible. But I think, you know, they've done such a good job in schools these days of getting rid of that kind of behavior that people have turned soft. Like you like when you're at school, you get over that with the bully. Maybe you fight the bully. Maybe you make jokes at the bully's expense, and then suddenly you become friends. You don't, or you whatever it may be, and then you grow up hardened. People you can riff with people. You can go do back and forth, but these schools these days, you just have everyone's. I think everyone is like a special individual snowflake. We're all winners. We're all They've softened these fucking kids, man. Like I don't know what are you talking about? The guy. What Amanda must have been looking at him, going like, "What the." I bet you started fucking trying to laugh. Like I would have laughed out loud if Ray Fisher had have told me that. Geoff Johns basically he called me up just in the middle of the night just to tell me we've got a new cyborg on my show. Not even that this cyborg's gonna take his job, just to tell him that he has a new cyborg on his show. That's funny, man. That is funny. Anyway, let's continue this.
People that have stories to tell need to be protected. And so he did not escalate the situation to Warner Media. I received a phone call from the head of HR, the vice president of HR, and the vice president of labor relations from Warner Brothers. I had a 2-hour initial conversation with them, wherein I detailed beat for beat, gave them names of people that they should interview. Which is exactly what Warner Brothers has said. All of these things. And so, the fact is I've got so many details that I can put in these stories, and I'm willing to do it face to face. All right. So when having to combat that with generalized statements, I generalized press releases, it's an impossible task for them to do. And so, since they've opened up the can of worms, there are going to be certain things that I'm now going to be saying publicly, not about the specific experiences in Justice League,
I'm
but in
sorry,
how
I shouldn't laugh, because the thing is, Geoff Johns, as I've always stated, all of these guys may have truly done something horrible to Ray Fisher and the cast and crew. So if he's got like all these personal communications and all of this kind of receipts and recordings or whatever, and it turns out to be really, really bad, you know, I'm not going to stand with Ray Fisher just because of his behavior, but I will stand against them if it is really bad. And if it's something they should be fired for, then, you know, it will be unfortunate, because I think Geoff Johns is a hell of a writer, and it'll be very sad to see the day that Geoff Johns leaves DC, because I think he's one in a million. He's very, very special type of talent. But, you know, if you do something that is, you know, some racist shit that's horribly racist, or I don't know what it could be, but then, you know, yeah, or you seriously abuse your power in some kind of way, then yeah, of course you gotta go, like, in that sense. But he's not giving up. Like, everything he's saying at the moment, like all of the different things, the barber, the Geoff Johns trolling him, all of that stuff just doesn't mean anything to me. I'm just like, this is an abuse, and you shouldn't even bring it up if there is some serious abuse that you're going to say later. So just forget about it. Don't bring that shit up. Just deal with your investigation, get it sorted, tell them the information when you feel ready and safe to be able to do so, and then expose these guys if they're bad guys. That's what you should do. You know, all of this other stuff, getting on YouTube, getting Twitter mobs, weaponizing the Snyder Cut movement, and the specifics of who. Because now, what are you? So do you want Walter Hamada to be fired as well? Is that what you're trying to say? Because you're bringing in a lot of Walter Hamada here. Is it because of? Is that? Anyway, this is what happens. You release the Snyder Cut. These guys, they're looking for blood. They want blood. They want people out who were against Snyder.
Things have been handled up until this point, since I've come out with my allegations about Joss Whedon, Geoff Johns, John Berg. And if you remember, I had left in quotation marks and others. And there was a very specific reason why I put and others in quotation marks when I mentioned the Warner Brothers, the Warner Media rather, investigation. So, you guys, I appreciate the love and I appreciate the support. I'm not going to stop fighting. I've had so many people reach out to me, both personally and people who I don't know, professionals in the industry who have reached out and said, I know you're telling the truth. I know you're telling the truth, because they know the people that we're dealing with. And so they're encouraging me to go on. You guys are encouraging me to go on. I'm going to keep fighting the good fight. I know you're telling the truth. But I'm going to fight it with hard fact. I'm not going to fight it with emotion like they're probably wanting me to do. I'm going to fight it with hard fact. I'm going to fight it with logic.
You're going to fight it with Twitter. Sense. With tweets.
Because obviously that's the only thing that can cut through the nonsense, right? That's the only thing that can cut through those sorts of weird blanket statements that people make. So
you're the one making weird blanket statements. What are you talking about? You called someone gross, abusive, and all of this kind of stuff. You made blanket statements that have no detail, and you're calling them out for making blanket statements. What is going on? Their statement was more detailed than yours. They actually gave examples of the behavior that they found troubling of yours. So what are you talking about? I'm at a loss with this guy now. I really am. I'm at a fucking loss.
Hey, shame on them for doing that. And if they're hoping that, I sue them, so that they can go on and ask a judge to put a gag order on me until all this stuff is done, they've got another thing coming. I don't care what the situation ends up being. You're not going to keep me quiet. So yeah, basically, I mean,
your career's over. Like, for saying this in public, your career's absolutely over. You're done. You are done, Ray Fisher. Yeah, you're done. What was the last thing he just even said? That he's not willing to sue them because he doesn't want a gag order put on him. I mean, are you serious? Are you absolutely fucking serious? So, you're not going to court against them. You've got an investigation ongoing with them, and they're telling you their investigation has come up with 0. So they've interviewed probably every single person who worked on Justice League, and they're confident enough to come out with that statement. So you have to come with a statement, because the people that you're saying supported you and are phoning you saying, yeah, we know you're telling the truth. Which, how do they know? Because you haven't said anything. So they say they know you're telling the truth. Well, if they know you're telling the truth, why have they told Warner Brothers that they saw nothing? Because I assume it's people that worked on Justice League, or are you just talking about people who've worked with Geoff Johns in general? I don't know what the abusive behavior was. Did he try and come on to one of the females on the cast? Did he threaten her job? What did he do? And isn't he the enabler, Geoff Johns? I thought he was the enabler, not the person who was actually responsible. That it was Josh Whedon that was the problem. All right, let's try and wrap this up.
Because I have not given them all the information, right?
I'm not telling them the
They're
information.
trying to
I'm
figure
not
out
cooperating
exactly
with the
who's
investigation.
telling me what and what I know and what I'm willing to say. And because I have not run it by them, I have not run it by anybody prior to me saying some of the things that I've
So
been
you
saying.
haven't run it by anyone?
They don't know what I'm going to say next or. So they tested the waters with that statement, and I think people saw through it immediately, and it backfired on them in a big way.
I want to listen to the end of this just in case. Is he going to make any more accusations? Because
critical pieces of information that you're trying to use to defame me, you're toast. You're toast. So
they're toast.
Like I said, they've escalated it to a different level now. I'm going to go ahead and figure out what the next best steps are to proceed in the situation. So yeah, just know we're going to get it done, and if any weird or funky,
we're going to get it done. The Snyder Cult and I. Me and the Snyder Cult. I am now the first apostle, the general, the spokesperson for our Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder. I'm the John the Baptist to his Jesus Christ. We are gonna get it done. Yeah, Ray Fisher. Fight the power.
stuff starts happening. You see weird or funky stories floating out around there. It's floating out there about me. You'll know. You already know. So I on a bit of a ramble right now, but I usually ramble to myself while I'm walking. Helps me clear my head rather. But insofar as that's concerned, I want to thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Ray Fisher. This has been very entertaining. Entertainment over accountability. Because you are single-handedly one of the most entertaining people I've met. This guy got on, phoned you to troll you about the new Cyborg, and you got emotionally offended by it. It hurt your fifis so much that you bring it up a year later in serious abuse allegations. You're bringing up a guy phoned you to troll you about about him casting a new Cyborg on a TV show that has nothing to do with the movie universe and wouldn't have even stripped you of your job. It's not like he was saying, oh, this guy's gonna take over your job in the movies. He's just phoned you just to say, I've got a new Cyborg.
I do not. And so, they've got a lot more power. They've got a lot more access to to outlets to be able to blast their story out. But what I'm grateful for, what I thank my lucky stars for, is that I've got you guys out there helping to lift me up and helping to actually spread the truth out there about what's going on. So
spread the truth. You haven't told them anything.
I was supposed to do some game streaming later on today, but I may just turn that into a quick thank you session for all of you guys over on Twitch later on at we'll probably say about 6 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, I'll do that. It'll just be a just chatting conversation, and you already know.
Oh wow, he's done a Twitch session.
I'm going to stay on him. I'm going to make sure that the investigation situation is one that is fair and that protects everybody that's got a story to tell, because it ends up these are some of the people that have stories to tell do not have the protection of having a large social media following to go to bat for them, right? Some of the people that have stories to tell, if it goes into the hands of the wrong person who's just simply looking to see who are the troublemakers, who are the ones saying this or doing that, they're the ones that are ultimately going to end up getting hurt beyond repair, you know, with respect to employment and all that stuff. And as I've said in the past, I've been down a road similar to this before, right? Back in 2010.
Which means you're a problem. It means you're a problem. You get into different productions and you start causing problems before you have any kind of clout or power. I mean, what is going on?
Nice. A group of workers at a job I was working at. And ultimately, during that process, I myself had contacted the union. And you can check with them. This is 2010. It was local 360 based out of New Jersey, the United Food and Commercial Workers Union. There were issues at the job. We were trying to get unionized. Myself and some other folks were let go during this effort. And we took that situation all the way to the National Labor Relations Board. All right? This is not stuff that I play around with. And I'm lucky that I've got SAG-AFTRA on it, because a lot of these calls, a lot of this information has been directed to them as well. So I'll be reaching out to them to make sure that we can coordinate our efforts.
So you've gone to SAG to coordinate efforts to do the investigation. Why are you on Twitter? What has Twitter got to do with this? Why are you reaching out to people, telling them nothing, in order for them to support you on the basis of nothing? No evidence, nothing. Why are you doing that, Ray Fisher? You have every right to be upset and take your complaints and everything to the SAG and to any people that you want. But you should only, should I say, talk on social media once you are able to say exactly what happened and to support it with evidence. Otherwise, you're just throwing people, getting support and weaponizing a mob for something that could be a lie. Maybe you're telling the truth, but it could be a lie. And that is dangerous, because that means anyone can do this. Anyone who just decides they don't like someone, they want to get them out of their job, they can come on here and just weaponize a mob, their fan base, to go after anyone they like. This is a dangerous precedent you're setting. And, well,
this does not escalate into simply a smear campaign.
Hashtag me too, Ray Fisher.
If they can't buy you and they can't bully you, the only thing they can try to do is discredit you. So, we're going to go ahead and get it done one way or the other. So, we're walking uphill, my heart rate's going up. So, anyway, thank you guys again. I appreciate the love. I appreciate the concern. I'd be less concerned, and
he's just said nothing
because
for
I
the
already
last
know
few minutes.
Once we get it to the people who are actually going to be impartial, the people at Warner Media, and I say Warner Media, not Warner Brothers.
This is what why are you... the only reason he's saying this is because Warner Media is supposedly the ones who helped put out the Snyder Cut. He's aligning himself with Warner Media, hoping they'll align themselves with him. But I'm sure Warner Media approved the communication by Warner Brothers that Warner Brothers put out. I am sure they approved that communication. So this investigation cannot go anywhere until you open your mouth and tell them what happened. Otherwise, what are they investigating? And you're vetting the guy that they sent to do this? Fine, vet him and then tell them. And then do it with, while you've got a rep with you, your lawyer or whoever the hell you need to be with you to tell them the story. This could have been done. This was the 26th of August, your last communication apparently. So where is this? You've denied nothing that they said in that communication. You haven't even denied that you were basically saying that you wanted script changes and all of this kind of stuff. You haven't denied any of that. That was what your communications after should have been. I'm squarely saying this is not what I'm talking about. No, these guys actually abused their power, abused me. Maybe I would have been upset about, trying to communicate with, and get them to change, my story, or, there were things maybe I was a little offended by that I didn't want to say in the script. But that is not why I am doing this. You are not saying that is not why I'm doing this, because maybe it is why you're doing it. That basically you got your fifis hurt simply because, as I stated before, you didn't get the basic Cyborg movie that Zack Snyder was making out of the Justice League. I don't know why he's making it a Cyborg movie. No one even really likes Cyborg. People come to the Justice League movie for, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, maybe Flash. Why is he making it a Cyborg movie? I don't know. But okay, he made it a big Cyborg movie. Fine. I probably would have enjoyed it. But if that's what you're complaining about, then that isn't gross abuse or anything. That's a creative disagreement. And you're not stating clearly that this is not why you're doing this. And that bothers me. Because you should be able to, at the very least, say that. At least confirm that.
With respect to us being told that the investigator was working for Warner Media. And then I found out that it was a person working for Warner Brothers. And there's a massive distinction. And so there was a lot of floundering back and forth in email conversation as to who this person was actually working for. So the one thing I cannot have happen, the one thing I will not do, is rush through a situation like this simply for them to throw two individuals who they no longer have any ties with under the bus in order to protect other individuals who were at the company and who may still be at the company. And that's the bottom line. So I appreciate it. I'm going to stop rambling.
So you want them to get fired? That's basically what you're saying. You're trying to cancel them.
Well, until next time, my friends.
All right.
Thanks.
Deuces. Later on, man. That was not enlightening at all. Basically, Geoff Johns trolled him. I think that's hilarious. That's all he said. I don't really see... I was really hoping for something more, but I guess that's it. I don't know what to say. This is the last video I'm going to do on this for a while until he comes out with something a little bit more substantial. I've spent too much time on this already. I think it's... I'm just telling you, you better tread carefully and make sure this is one hell of an allegation when it comes out. Because otherwise, brother, you are toast. Anyway, that's me. This is With Enough Prep Time. I am the Nerd Man, and I'll see you very soon. Please like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think of the whole Ray Fisher situation. Are you on his side? Do you think you have you heard anything about Geoff Johns or any of the creative team behind Justice League that would lead you to believe on face value what Mr. Fisher is saying? But anyway, I love you 3,000. To all my new subscribers, thanks so much for supporting the channel, and I look forward to your comments. And yeah, see you very soon.